when we babies are learning to point, they're pointing because they're interested in things that are happening in the world. But if you're in your home environment the whole time and you've seen all of the things before, so your toy car and your ball, you're not going to want to point for new things.
And people often say that children were the most affected by 2 years of COVID lockdown, and research seems to back that feeling up. A new study has found that babies born during the COVID lockdowns were found to be less likely to be able to point and wave goodbye. Dr. Susan Byrne is Senior Lecturer and Paediatric Neurologist at the Royal College of Surgeons in Dublin, and she co-authored the study. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Hi, welcome. Thank you very much for welcoming to the show.
You're very welcome. I mean, this is a quite a sad conclusion, really, but I suppose not that surprising. We know why children of school age, might have had some problems with development because, well, they didn't see their friends for so long, they weren't at school, and they missed out on a lot of stuff. But in terms of children being taught to point and wave goodbye, why would that be the case?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. So we looked at about 350 babies who were born into the start of the pandemic, and compared them to 1,600 babies that had been followed up in a previous study. And as we said, we showed that they were less likely to be able to point, wave bye-bye, or have one word of meaning, but were slightly more likely to be able to crawl. And I think you have to think about the measures that were in place at the time. And obviously, Dublin, the measures in Ireland were there was a stringent lockdown for quite a long period of time. And actually from the study, we found that at birth, in terms of social circle, babies and families only had one outside household contact at the time. By the time the babies were 6 months of age, only 3 people, including parents on average, had kissed the baby. And by 1 year of age, one in 4 children within the study had never met another child their own age. So you have to think that these babies were mostly at home. And we showed from a previous study, that actually families reported increased bonding time and family time, but they weren't out and about as much as they would have been before. So if you think about it, from the really small social circles that we've demonstrated, if nobody's coming to the house to say goodbye to, you're not going to learn to wave bye-bye.
Yes.
And then when we babies are learning to point, they're pointing because they're interested in things that are happening in the world. But if you're in your home environment the whole time and you've seen all of the things before, so your toy car and your ball, you're not going to want to point for new things. So you're not going to be pointing at new things. So I think that in part might explain it. And then they were slightly more likely to crawl. So they probably spent a lot more time playing on the floor with siblings, and if they had siblings.
Yes, I suppose it completely makes sense, because the parents would have been doing all that stuff, but if the social circle is smaller and you're not getting out, that would make perfect sense. Where are these children? Do we know, were they able to catch up? I mean, is there any long-term effect?
So I think that's a really interesting thing. And so at 2 now, the babies have just turned 2, we've done some standardized testing. I'm not able to report the results yet because it's under analysis. But I'm very hopeful. Babies are very, very social creatures, and they learn very, very quickly. Their brains are very plastic. So we would be very hopeful that they will learn to catch up. I mean, it's very interesting when you think about it. There was a comedian on an Irish panel show talking about her little baby who'd been born during the pandemic. And she said when the baby was 9 months old, she brought the baby to the playground, and the baby saw another baby for the first time, was looking at the baby, and the mum said you could see the baby thinking, hang on, I thought I was the only baby in the world. So I think it's and that you hear that from many people, that I know a friend or someone I work with has a picture of her little baby seeing another child for the first time at about 10 months of age. So babies are super social. They're social, and they'll be very interested. And the lockdown measures obviously lasted for a period, but are gone now to the most part. So babies are back out in the world, exploring and meeting other babies and other children and new people.
Well, thank goodness for that. There's a happy ending to what's really quite a sad, heartbreaking story. Geez. Susan, thank you so much. That is Dr. Susan Byrne, Senior Lecturer and Paediatric Neurologist at the Royal College of Surgeons in Dublin. That's I know hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it? But just pretty cruel, really, isn't it?
And I think